Welcome, friends, to Tagged Up the Podcast, all about video games and beer. It's episode 314. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
I'm back.
And Aadil.
Hey!
We're here to drink some beers, talk about some games, as we do every single week. Aadil, why don't you kick us off with your beer?
So this is where if we had better production, i.e. talk to each other about what things we were doing, I might have drunk this beer last episode because I'm drinking the Stout Brummie from Birmingham Brewing Company. It's a salted caramel almond milk stout. It's 5.3%. I debated drinking it with Lucy last episode when she had a BBC beer, but it was just like, I think that this stout will just mask the previous beer, which was a light pale ale, too much. So first of all, thanks to Joel and Verity for sending me a box of BBC beers with one of these and then a variety pack of Brummie beers as a thanks for taking pictures at their wedding, which I was just doing because I was there and I shared it all, and it was just very nice of them to do. So thanks, Joel and Verity. And they clearly talked to Jess, who told them that I really like salted caramel because it was like variety pack and then this one on top. Like, aha. So this is obviously the podcast beer. So yeah, 5.3% salted caramel almond milk stout. It says, what makes a stout Brummie? Caramelized British floor malted barley, additions of almond milk, caramel, and salt. A thick velvety body with caramel sweetness and a salty finish. It's a 330ml can, and again, 5.3%.
Nice. Lucy, what are you going to drink?
I need some friends who'll send me beer. I'm jealous of all you lot, good friends. I'm drinking a beer I bought myself.
Oh.
Oh no!
It's a beer from Otherworld Brewing up in Scotland. It is a mixed fermentation NEIPA. It says on the can, you see, this is the kind can that I like. White writing on a dark blue background. Clear as day.
Nice.
It says on the back of the 440ml can, which is 6%, a soft foundation of malted wheat and flaked oats with layers of tropical and stone fruits from Mosaic, Citra, and Sabro hops. Seen a lot of Sabro. Another one here. A mixed fermentation of London and non-traditional yeast in a quest to free more hop flavors.
Okay.
It's packaged on 9th of February, so recent.
Nice. Good.
A month ago.
Relatively fresh. Perfect.
Yeah, it's got a nice kraken on the front.
Oh wow, that is a nice kraken.
Yeah, I mean Scotland's full of them, so. Well, what else is in those
on
lots?
The land, walking around Glasgow, just like, hey, how's it going? Cool. I am drinking a DEYA. It's called Roots to Remember. An IPA brewed with a Vienna rye and dextrin malt, finishing sweet to push the juice. Dry hopped with Galaxy, Sim-O, I think that's a bit of a typo there, Simcoe and Vic Secret. Top notes of mango and peach are backed up by light sweet pine and berry. It is 6.5%, obviously in a big old 500ml DEYA can. We will crack these open. I've noticed, having cracked my window, that either someone's outside burning down the giant pine forest that lives behind the house, or they're having a glorious smoke outside, and it's just made me incredibly jealous of the lovely waft that I'm getting in through my window. So hopefully there's a little bit of hop, a little bit of dankness on this beer as well, just to get me in the similar kind of mood. But Aadil, we'll come back to you for the Brummie Brewery salted caramel stout.
It poured with a bit of head. It's basically all gone. Good lacing though. Oh, it smells. Oh, actually, I can smell a bit of that almond, tempering the sweetness from the caramel notes there. It's actually quite a light nose. But I'm getting hints of the caramel, but I have to kind of dig. It's not like it's like wafting up sweet. Definitely can tell it's a milk stout.
You got like a little bit of sweetness that's not sort of the caramel kind of coming through.
Yeah, just and it's got a bit of a velvetyness as well. Ooh, I like how burnt the stout is though. The malts are quite a little burnt roasted. And then you're getting that's working really well with the almonds. One of my back when I had a movie night in Calgary that I hosted, by far the number one most popular snack I had was my tamari roasted almonds, oven roasted almonds with tamari on them, that the almond and the roasted are going so well. It's reminding me of that, even though obviously I don't have any of the tamari. I have salted caramel instead, but it definitely has almond and roasted melding together, which I wasn't expecting from the flavor text or even the description, but it's really nice.
Good.
Such a salted
Sorry?
movie night with toasted almonds. Some of us have all the talent putting on a movie.
I will say the salted caramel's there, but it is a bit understated, which I kind of like because it makes sure that this is a stout first. Sometimes you get these we've added these things, and then you're like, it's a this thing drink, also a beer. This is a stout. This is a stout with some roasted malt backbone, and it's a milk stout. And the almonds are hiding in with the roasted flavors, not as in they're melded well. And it's salted caramel is like addition again. It's all really well blended. Such that if you handed it to someone, they might not immediately be like, "Oh, it's a salted caramel beer." You could easily see those flavors, but they're not the main part. The main part of this is a milk stout that's a bit more on the roasted malty side.
Sure.
Really excellent beer. Yeah.
Good.
What movie would you pair with it?
What movie would I pair with it? Oh, that is a good question.
Rear Window. I don't know.
It's always Rear Window. Doesn't matter what the beer is.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea, actually, because I was thinking something older, like a classic, and then my brain went to westerns and Fistful of Dollars. But those, I think, this is a little too heavy. It's a nice roasted malty stout, and I think I wouldn't want that with this beer. But Rear Window is perfect. Okay? It's an older time period. It's sedate because obviously he's stuck in his apartment for most of the film. But it's dynamic. It's interesting. It's got all these things going on. The madness, I guess, is the almond.
Yeah.
Something like a Rear Window would work really well. Yeah.
Nice. I was going to say the birds.
Too frenetic, right?
I mean, very frenetic, but it's it's always looking at the sky all the time. You need something to ground it.
Grounded almonds.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Lucy, what's your beer like?
It's very orangey. Solid block of orange, very opaque. Head's dissipated. Probably a really nice, 1.5 finger white head, like last episode, and it's lacing on the glass is quite nice, but it smells great. It's got a what is that smell? It's got a little bit of fruit, a little bit of citrus fruit on it, but it's something else. Something that smells. This sounds bad, but something smells like synthetic on it, but it's a nice synthetic smell. And it's like, oil isn't synthetic, but when you smell petrol, and it's like, this is bad for me, but it smells really good.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I love the smell of a petrol station. It's brilliant.
But there's something on this that
only 10-15 years left before that it'll be outlawed.
Completely. I'll have to just get me kicks from sawn timber on building sites. That's the other thing that gets me.
Oh, that is a good. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it smells like a very. Maybe it smells like a wooden cabin. Or a new build. One of two. Or just fresh paint or something. This sounds awful. It's got a smell to it that I really like, but Can't put my nose on it, but yeah, getting a little bit citrus. Having to really stick my nose in there to smell it. Ooh. Oh. There was mosaic in this, wasn't there? Yes, can definitely taste the mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really nice. It's got a really nice soft mouthfeel, like really easy, really, really pillowy.
Nice.
Just like coats your tongue and just like ooh, and yeah, you got this nice burst of fruit as well from it. Like I think they said tropical and citrus fruits, and it's like I think they're probably picking up more on the tropical fruits, but yeah, even though the aroma was a bit subtle, it's like completely different in the taste. Ooh, that is very, very nice. Yeah, getting a lot of it's like just before the last like bit of the taste, like just tons of mango, tons of tropical fruits just before it, that pine and that little bit of bitterness just comes in at the end. But yeah, I'm drinking a lot of it because it's like, okay, I want to pick up on all these flavors because it's such a well balanced beer. There's a lot going on. These 3 hops in it, but I'll just end up drinking it all if I do. I'm just gonna chug it all back. It's so nice. I don't even want to pick this apart because it's. No, I just want to drink it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hold on, let me one more sip and I'll final thought.
We can talk about a game after that, so it might just slow you down a little bit.
Yeah, orange, mango. Yeah, just like the ripest orange that you get in, just sink your teeth down into it, and like all the juice just bursts out. It's just fruit. It's so fruit forward, even more so than the last beer, I guess. But on the last episode, oh, this is such a good beer. Such a good NEIPA.
Nice.
I that's all I can say. It's really, really good. I'm pretty blown away by it so far.
Good.
And I think it's an octopus, not a kraken, but I choose to think it's a kraken.
That's fair.
Because it's
a kraken's just a big octopus, isn't it?
Hey.
Big squid.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I'll have more thoughts at the end. I'm just loving it.
Perfect.
I might just sit down and just
Go
on, talk about your beer.
Well, as a final note, is this the first bit you've had from them?
I think so, because I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not one I've come across before. I don't think. Can't even remember where I bought it. But I'm going back. I'm gonna find out where I bought it and go back. Oh, this is really, really good.
Good.
Sorry, I'll stop
great.
evangelizing it now and let you talk.
Yeah, coming to the DEYA, I kind of almost, from what you were sort of saying about your beer, I kind of almost expected a similar thing from the DEYA, at least from their flavour text, from what they were saying. A sweet, juicy sort of flavour, but again, kind of being balanced out with something like Vic's Secret and a little bit of sort of Galaxy in there to kind of, I suppose, give a bit more of a piney kind of finish. But the nose is incredibly light. There's not much on there at all. But there's almost a sweetness, and I know it said in the flavour text berry, and there is almost like a sweetness in there from a berry more than anything else, like a lingonberry or cranberry or something like that. Something not incredibly sweet, but something that's just lifted a little bit. And then in the flavour that does also come through, but it's kind of masked in flavour, but not in feel. Like, it feels incredibly sweet. Like, the back of my mouth, the front of my tongue feels like cooler than the rest of my mouth. Like, it's almost like there's some sweetness here, but all of the other flavours are kind of beating it back a little bit. And there is a little bit of slightly slightly riper mango, not like super sweet kind of mango in there. There is a little bit of a piney touch to it, but again, not that big. Like everything in this is quite light, and it's not a very big beer. It makes it incredibly easy to drink without it having any big kind of punchy flavors to it. It's all like, yeah, this is very simple. Let's slosh it back. Just to describe sort of the beer, it's almost as orange as yours, Lucy. Maybe not quite as orange. The head dissipated really quickly, laces to the glass quite nicely, but it looks very, very similar to yours. But I'm kind of floored with a DEYA beer being this subdued and light, really. That they've got something that is even at 6% and a bit, 6.5% somewhere, 6.5%. Feels much more sessionable, through that flavour being so subdued. It's got a sort of a medium body to it, in sort of the mouthfeel, but it's a little bit refreshing. So it feels a lot lighter than it is, or that the ABV would suggest that it is. And I'm kind of going back in quite a lot. It's very, not very dry, but it's quite dry, and it's dry enough that the flavour fades quickly. Like the previous Polly's, like a lot of those flavours faded quite quickly. With this, it's almost everything that fades with it. There's no lasting finish to it. And again, that sounds like I'm ragging the beer for not having a lasting finish, but actually, because everything else feels quite sessionable about it, it makes sense that it doesn't have a really big tail to it, that it wants you to go back and, get it down you.
Yeah. Closing thoughts on my beer. Closing thoughts. I think I figured out what that smell is. I think it's just like the pininess of it. That's why it's, said like a woody cavity. It smells like, and like synthetic. It smells like when you open up like IKEA furniture for the first time. It's got that like really powerful smell that smells like almost, ungodly and like, but it is just like, okay, it's just natural wood that I'm smelling. But it's not like any off flavors like varnish or anything like that. It's just a lot of that pine, and it's just so big on flavor. I mean, the last beer, last episode, that was like 4.7, and that felt like, as much flavor as like a 6% beer, whereas this 6% beer feels like, okay, it's got as much flavor as like a double IPA, So yeah, it's just really bold and in your face, and it's great. I wonder if they like dry hopped it, because you're getting a lot of that fruity flavor on this. So I'd be interested if they had. So yeah.
Cool.
But, yeah, no, I've calmed down.
Well, let's see how calm you remain. Let's talk a little bit about Tunic. I know we've got
terrible.
I think we have some very differing thoughts.
My name's Lee.
Yeah. Lee's definitely got some differing thoughts. Having uninstalled the game twice, I think, now.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving Tunic. I think that this game is doing some incredibly good things. Tunic is an adventure game. It is I suppose, it is an isometric view.
Zelda.
And it's it's kind of speaking to me as someone who really enjoyed Death's Door last year. It's got a lot of similarities to that. Very different vibe. It is almost like a Zelda-like in terms of sort of the vibe like that it has, the tone that it
world
has
design.
Exactly. But I know we might talk sort of maybe lightly touch on things like combat and stuff like that. But I'm finding this maybe not quite as difficult as a lot of other people in the discourse are kind of talking about. I'm getting through it at a reasonable sort of pace. I haven't had too many sort of stumbling blocks, and I haven't bashed my head against the bosses as many times as kind of other people have. And
neither have I.
Yeah.
It's just that I think combat is a bit frustrating.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those where the term, and we'll talk more about this after a little bit of a Tunic discussion. The term sort of souls like is kind of bandied around a bit too freely at the moment with games. This isn't a Souls game. Yeah, there's kind of elements of it, but it's an adventure game, and Souls took adventure game elements rather than adventure games taking Souls sort of elements.
Open Wild isn't a Breath of Wild thingy because Breath of Wild wasn't the first open world. Yeah, I know, and it's I'm sure we'll get in the later part of the conversation about Zeitgeist, but yeah, it is very infuriating. But Zelda is, to say it is a Zelda like that isn't, a rote kind of like description, because it's a clear influence, and it's very that's why he even wears like a green tunic. Yeah, might as well just have pink hair at this point and be called Fink. I don't know. Yeah. Continue with
it. So there's a lot about this game that's very, very familiar. And it's got a language that is easy to pick up to it as well. I think it has. I think it does.
No,
yes.
I'm smirking at your use of the term language, given one of the coolest quirks of the game, which we'll get to later. I didn't mean to derail you, but
yes,
yeah.
No, I know what you're going to say, but game language, play language, at least.
I don't think it does.
Okay.
I think you played Death's Door.
No, I've played a lot of games, so I love what it's doing with the manuals and the language it's speaking, and like all these little clues and stuff like that. I just think from an accessibility standpoint, it's got to be god awful. If you're just looking at how do I do this thing, how do I swing this sword, or how do I jump or roll or whatever, I can see how that would be immensely frustrating and not kind at all, but I'm just saying that from someone, from another perspective.
Sure,
I can see that being immensely frustrating, and
especially
also for a game that looks like this, and you just think, oh yeah, it's this cutesy little game about a fox. It's going to be welcoming. Because from all the demos that I played of it, I didn't even know it had this like other, figure out the manual thing itself. Yeah. But it's like, I'm just saying that I can see from a different perspective why that would be infuriating.
So I think
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's worth talking about that now then to not for those who don't know, one of the collectibles you get is pages of the manual, and they're given at a pace where if you went through a playthrough of like going through, looking around, exploring, and getting a new or needing to use a technique or getting a new tool to your arsenal, you get a page that sort of hints about it. But of course, the manual is so you're collecting pages of manual. You can hit a button and look at it, and that like one of the pages is like a map of the first sort of area you're in, and that's really great. The manual is mostly in a different language.
Some made up. Symbolic.
A runic language of some sort. And then, things like you get your first flask if you're doing a Souls-like idea, but like your first health potion, which, when you collect those, every time you go to a little statue that resets all the mobs, you reset all your flasks as well. That's the Souls-like part, basically, and you collect runes that you can go to bank at your save points, which is not actually Dark Soulsy because you have to spend Dark Souls runes. It doesn't all quite work, but that's why people call it a Souls-like. I think it's because it has this but so things like when you get the page that talks about the health potion, it says health potion, and then it has a description in this other language, but some items which you may have picked up or may not have picked up yet don't have it's an instruction manual, so there's picked out drawings of this is what this does,
like little infographics and stuff to sort of that looks like it would assist you.
But so one of the things that because I've been playing Elden Ring, I've learned what iframes are.
Just now?
I'm just being mostly
Okay.
facetious.
All
But
right.
but like
what?
in the manual, it actually has a diagram of your role on one of the early pages, and it says,
Moments of safety, I think.
moments of safety or whatever, or it even says invulnerability here or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, these are the iframes. So if you roll into an attack, you'll be okay so long as dust is around you or something like that. Basically, the beginning of the roll is the safest part. The end of the roll is not safe. But like the manual tells you this, and like that's really cool, and like trying to figure it out. Also, the manual has pen markings on it, as if which is the really interesting gripping thing for me is this sort of manual thing. And also when you look at the manual, I don't know if you guys have done this, but I can't remember which stick it is, but you'll actually drop the manual and you'll see an 8-bit monitor of where you are in the game. And I was like, that's one of the nicest touches I've seen in a game.
It's almost like it zooms out of the game and takes you to the manual, which you would have physically in front of you.
Yeah, you are definitely holding it, and there's some writing on it.
It makes me want a physical copy of the game that has an actual manual.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you access different pages. Maybe do it like in the old LucasArts games thing where you have to solve a puzzle or something. But yeah, it's really neat. And
so I think
nostalgic in that way.
Yeah, but I think that nostalgia is also key to the thing that Lucy was talking about before, which is like why we're all okay with it, because we grew up with games with shitty manuals or no manuals, but like you never read the manual and you had to figure things out yourself.
Or you got a copy of the game lent by somebody else, and
exactly.
They just gave you the cartridge and didn't give you the box and the manual.
And I say this because like that lack of frustration on I don't know what the heck I'm doing, like it felt very much like playing an early NES game and kind of being like, I didn't know I could do that. Like learning to run. I learned to run before the manual told me, but not by very far, right? And it was actually
I learned how to run when I picked up an item where it's like, this looks like that thing in Zelda. I'm moving faster now.
Yes.
Can I run? It's like, I can run.
Honestly, I learned to run based on the fact that Lucy said that she had many levels of Elden Ring before she realized she could run. And I was like, can you run in this game? And I played. I'm like, you can run in this game.
Didn't take me 90 hours to
but like that's that type of experimentation is kind of what's needed, because even with the manual pages, they're obviously not all like they're not super informative in certain points. But like some of it is like telling you you're invulnerable at the beginning of your role is super informative. But having to find the page and pick it up is again one of those things where I have built in me. I always explore as much as I can, to the point where sometimes I play games in a probably really frustrating if you were watching way, which is like I'm gonna backtrack for 5 minutes because now I have this sword that lets me get to that area. And even though the game wants me to go here, what if it'll be a long time since I go there, and by the time I might forget, and I think there's a chest there, and like it really rewards that type of approach.
Absolutely.
Which is where you get like several pages that aren't like on the direct path of like, hey, I'm following these signs and now I'm doing this thing.
The optimal path of being able to run through it very quickly. I really gone.
No, I was just going to say I think it's neat how a lot of games with the instructions, like sometimes, with the lack of manuals and stuff like that, sometimes developers want to build that in, to match aesthetically or something like that. But this one, building into the actual mechanics of the game is just really unique.
It is, and it also, I think, just from the sort of the level design of it as well, and the idea that there's lots of little shortcuts. Lots of hidden shortcuts as well. There's tons of stuff where I'm like, I'll suddenly be like, I can go behind this wall and then walk around here, and if I loop back around here, I get to this point. That would always have been open. Had I have just gone down there, I would have got to this point much earlier than
that is my favourite part of the game.
It's great.
Just the developers holding up 2 middle fingers to you and saying, this was here all the time.
But also, in the manual, there's lots of little hints, and if you open the pages of the manual and you really explore it and you're looking and you really delve into that, you can see lots of little extra bits that don't appear kind of because of that isometric view, especially when the map is a kind of a front on, almost down looking kind of view of the map. When you're in that isometric view, you don't see a lot of these things, and they've done really well at being able to hide a lot of these little shortcuts. I think it's got me then looking over the manual going, what else does this have? Is there some kind of ARG element with this manual, especially with the scribbling, the little pen notes in various places, extra little icons which have been kind of added in pen and things. I'm studying this map quite a lot, or the manual quite a lot, just thinking, what else has this got to kind of give me? And when I see a manual page in the world to pick up, kind of elicits a little bit more joy in me than getting a new item, or suddenly being like, now I've got the item which allows me to target and then fire out not quite a slingshot or a hook or something too Zelda-y, but Tunic's version of that, which is like this little squid thing which grabs around, which is great for pulling enemies towards you.
You saw that in the game, but it's like even knowing that, even having that information just from like playing video games, it's still exciting to actually get that item. Then it's not just getting that item and just using it in that one, that very specific mechanic. It's like, I can drag enemies close to me, and it's like that makes long range enemies are much easier to deal with, and everything seems like it has more than one mechanic or facility developed around it, and it's real cool. Yeah,
absolutely. I think we'll probably return to talk about Tunic kind of when we've all got to when we've all finished with it, basically, whether we get to the end of it or not, when we're finished with it, we will kind of discuss it again. I know, Lucy, you're quite a distance through, aren't you?
I'm 9 hours in, and I was like rank 2 of 6 friends. I was like, I bet Ben is number 1. It's like,
14 am I?
Yeah, I think you're like 14 hours.
Am I? Yes, but I did leave it open. So there's a chunk of time, like a working day, that it was on, which I didn't even think about. I'm probably at a similar kind of time to you.
I've done one of the bosses in like this trifecta, and it's like the second one is like, okay, I got him down to a sliver of health and died.
Which one have you done?
I've done the big. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for Aadil or anyone else. The big stone.
The shield guard. Is it the shield guard?
No, I've done him. I think these are early night. I've done one in the East Fortress.
Yeah, with lots of legs.
Very easy. Yeah.
I've just got to that one. That's where I've just got to. Yeah.
I Elden Ringed the hell out of him by just going right underneath him, and took me two attempts. There's another one where it's like. I tried. I think it was like I tried twice or something, and it's like, okay, I'll probably come back when I've got a bit more magic. I've
also had that same experience.
Like, this guy's easy enough if I can just drag him towards me 8 times.
If you've got enough magic to be able to do it, yes, absolutely. And each of these kind of bosses have various sort of tactics to them that
again. I think that's why people say Souls-like, but it's like, I mean, have you played a Zelda game?
Yeah.
It's all like, it drives me nuts, but like, everything needs to be a roguelike or a Souls-like, apparently.
It's a good point to jump into this this sort of further conversation on it, and we'll start off with Aadil. What's the reason you decided to play Tunic?
I decided to play Tunic. Well, because I needed a break from Elden Ring, / I wanted, and by that I mean I was like, I had a couple different spots, and I was like, I'm like, my hands are tired. I'm not doing things as well as I was at the beginning of the session. I switched to another spot. I was still kind of having that difficulty, and also it's just like, I like this game, but like I don't want to live and breathe it. but I am enjoying playing games. What else? And so, meanwhile, on a Discord, Lee, Lucy, and Ben were talking about Tunic and talking about it in obscure ways that, like, I attempted to talk about with Lucy on Elden Ring, but Lucy's way further in the game and doesn't give a shit about builds or anything. So it's like, oh,
talk about index to me. Get out of here. No, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Yeah,
I think
that's fair.
Like, that's what I was playing 90 hours of Elden Ring. I didn't tell anybody because I was like, I don't want to tell anybody about this game.
Yeah, but like the conversation was there, and then also the Besties podcast have come up with like a new secondary series, which is the Resties, where the McElroys aren't part of it, and it's talking. And they did an episode on Tunic, and I listened to a bit of it, and as soon as they mentioned the manual, I was like, stop, I'm just gonna play this game. I don't. And they were like saying they weren't gonna be spoilery, but I just
they always are. That's why I don't listen to the podcast, because it's like and it's nothing wrong with it. People are just so damn excited about something they love, and it's like, you're gonna talk about spoilers. It's natural.
Well, what I liked is because you guys were just sort of talking about being in the game. You guys were talking about generic stuff like boss and combat being kludgy and whatever. And then I was like, oh, there's something more to this game. I was already about to like just boot it up. Like, if to be honest, like, we got our code for Almond like the morning of my stream, and if it wasn't that, I was gonna just stream the first couple hours of Tunic because I was like, oh well, I haven't played it. It's a first look, because I was excited about it, and then to have the podcast sort of pile on that, which is like, oh, this seems like a gem. And because there was bits that were, so basically I want to talk about like the pressure of Zeitgeist and like playing a game, but also the fact that like there was a uniqueness like about discovery in this game that I didn't want to wait around for, because I felt like it was only a matter of time before I would learn too much about it. And even I have talked, like, we've talked about the manual in a way that might be spoilery for a listener. Sorry, I get it, right? But like, that's one of the reasons, besides like, oh, you guys are playing it now and like you're finding frustrations and glee, and that's interesting, and I want to be part of our conversation, but also the greater internet's doing the same thing. And I don't want, because this seems like a special layer, it's not just another sort of Zelda like, I don't want to know all the things. It's kind of what happened to me with Hades, right? It was like I started it later and none of it was a surprise. It was still a great game.
Is anything about that game a surprise though? Is there any big revelations? I thought the ending was just like, eh.
No, what I meant like how
sexy everyone is.
Well, how well written it was, how many different voice like narratives and things. I don't think that ruined the game. I'm just saying it. I could see if I had played it without knowing that, I'd be like, this game is fucking amazing. How have they continued to surprise me with more voice acting? Oh, actually, I want to go for a run and look for this person to finish their story, versus knowing that everyone had a longer story. Like, just the facts of like, hey, you're gonna make friends. Like, you can choose to make friends with these people, and they're gonna you will level up your friendship in these ways, and there's things you need to do with these things. Like, it's all became mechanically apparent through conversations about it, that I think if I had played it organically.
But would you have played it organically without hearing that though?
Well, so that's why I wanted to talk about the Zeitgeist, because I don't know, because like, I don't really like roguelikes that much generally. So like, Hades was fun, but it wasn't like, if I didn't know how great it was, I might not have stuck it through.
Well, that's the thing with Tunic for me. Like, when I played the demos, I think latest one I played was last year. Like, I had no inkling that any of that kind of like map mechanic was in it, because I was just like, okay, Ben, you're going to eat this up because you like some basic ass isometric games. If you like Death's Door and, you know, not a lot of depth in the combat, you will love Tunic. You will eat it up. And I was like, I'll probably get around to this later. But when I went, oh right, it's actually got some cool exploration and perspective things going on, I was like, yeah. Sorry, Ben, I had to. Death's Door is just okay.
That's fair.
But so yeah,
Fair.
it's like I needed that to push me over the edge. But after that, it's just like, okay, I'm going on complete, blackout with, like Elden Ring, when people say, oh yeah, this is actually like accessible and like really, open and one of the best games ever made, which I completely agree with. That was enough to cross me over the line, and then after that, I was just like, yeah, cool. Because I was like, okay, I'll listen. I don't really want to hear about Elden Ring every week, but I won't a podcast because it's like I don't care about the game, and I'll just hear whatever is in it. And then I was like, oh, actually, I'll try it out, and probably the best £20 I've ever spent. So using rewards points, so I was just like, oh, I'll give it a go. And yeah, now I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to hear about this game. And I think people, not us, but I think people get very caught up in the zeitgeist, and people are like, I want to play this game now. I need to pre-order it. I need to buy it. And it's like, just, you can chill. I think people like think, okay, the game's out now, so I have to play it now. It has to be part of the conversation now. It's like, no, just enjoy it in your own time.
It's part of it's a strange way that the kind of idea behind like review codes and things has happened as well, right? Loads of review codes these days for games, maybe not some of the bigger hitters from say like PlayStation and stuff, but loads of review codes go out on the day of release, or a week or two, a few days before, with then the embargo being on release day, because the sort of perspective in terms of how people consume stuff has shifted a little bit. And we're talking about, Elden Ring has had coverage for the X amount of weeks that it has been out for. It's not, hey, everyone's talking about Elden Ring this week, now we've moved on to the next thing. It has stuck around. Other games kind of have come and gone a little bit quicker. Something like Horizon Forbidden West, which, they were talking about maybe about a week before its release. They hyped everyone up, and then it kind of hasn't been spoken about anymore. Yeah. Whereas Elden Ring codes went out, not that long before it released to lots of outlets, so they didn't have up much coverage before its release. That becomes part of the conversation and part of the discourse around it. Suddenly, if people are talking about a game for the first time, who you read their reviews from, or you listen to their thoughts on podcasts and things, and they're like, oh, you can play this right now. It's much more impactful than being like, oh yeah, this is out in like 2 weeks' time for everyone to be able to kind of take in. So it's,
and that's why I wait, because like things hit fever pitch as soon as people can talk about things with embargoes and stuff like that. So that's why it's like, okay, with Elden Ring, okay, everyone's saying it's the best game ever made. I'm going to wait until the dust settles and see genuine criticism about it, Same with, things like Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. It's like, okay, I think I've been gaming for too long. And it's like, I know what I like, and it's, some things will sway me if it's like, okay, not my typical genre or something, or if I just didn't have my finger on the pulse and it wasn't on my radar, I can be swayed. But usually I know what I like, I know what I'm going to play. But if it's something that's like so highly, recognized, and it's like, okay, maybe I could be interested in this, I wait until the dust is settled, because holy Christ, I'm never going to get it's stupid to say, but objective opinion from somebody the week or even the month that something is out,
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of what happened with me in Elden Ring, right? Like, between Steph and you and all of the, like...
I didn't say shit about Elden Ring, to be clear.
I mean, you said you liked it. I bought it. Yeah,
I posted that I put like 70 hours in it, and Ben was like, is that Hitman 3? And I was like, yeah.
No, I mean, it was before you hit 70 hours. I remember having the conversation, but it was also like, part of it for me was like, I did feel the pressure of learning too much about it. But honestly, it was like, enough people said, I've had this for a while. I've played tens of hours. This is FromSoft's most accessible and best game, and I've always like courted around those games and never really played them. And I thought, yeah, you know what? My entertainment budget can go to this game this time around, but I'm still like a
To
few
be
weeks
fair,
behind,
I'm
right?
going to say I didn't tell you anything about this game and take all the credit for it when it's your game of the year.
But like I'm glad you didn't give details, right? That's the point. Is like what you did say was when what a lot of people were saying is like exploration is amazing in this game, and that's what and like I am struggling with knowing there are wikis out there because my like completionist brain is like,
You will
what
never.
if I missed a thing? And it's fine. In fact, what it means is I'm now like pretty like by the time I finished the second area before the first main boss, because I went south first.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, was that area just a piece of cake, because I've been like looking for everything to make sure, and I'm sure I've missed things, but I've been looking around pretty like as much as a fine-tooth comb as I can, because I like this place. I want to learn more. I've picked up all these weapons I'm not using because I like the kind of playstyle I've found. But I also found a random staff that seems really OP. Because when I got teleported to the wrong side of the map, I was running around and exploring, and like that's great. And sure, there is an optimal build that I am missing.
Don't do it, mate.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I think this is a game that I might want to play a second time as more of a strength, like big fucking strength parry build, because right now I'm more of like a sometimes spell, mostly dodge roll. I forget to equip a shield. Coward! I don't even use a shield, Lucy. Coward! What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm up there. I'm like, you know,
I'm not.
Like this mage at the back. Just like,
I am no, Lucy. I think you misunderstand. The spell I use is a short range spectral sword. So I need to use. I need to be in melee range. I need to be in melee range, but I can't parry them.
Sounds like you need to min-max your build and look on Wikipedia.
Yeah, apparently.
That's what it sounds like. That's fair. Yeah, there's time anyway.
But that's what I like. I'm stumbling around and I'm liking that, and like so now I went to the first castle to fight Godric, and I just killed that mini boss at the gate. First attempt, no problem.
Can't even remember who that is.
Margit?
Oh, him. Or do you mean who's the?
I haven't killed the main boss, Godric.
Oh yes, Margit.
I'm on my way, but the thing is, there's like multiple paths through the castle, and I keep getting distracted because I'm like, oh wait, but I saw a thing there, and I'm pretty sure I can jump off that ledge, and so. And I keep hitting Banishing Knights, which sometimes I don't kill successfully, and then it's like, oh great, now that 5,000 runes I got to go find again, or whatever. So it's a nice balance of I'm not getting frustrated, and I know the path through this. I know the path I haven't taken. That's probably the like primary path, but I'm still happy, even if I'm dying twice and losing all my runes. I've made my peace with that. I'm happy just exploring this giant castle map, because it's interesting, and I'm pretty sure. And sometimes it's like, oh, an item, and I work really hard to get to the item. It's like some hunk of flesh I'm never going to learn what to do with. Great, cool, whatever. Let's keep going. Love it.
I do enjoy how a conversation about the zeitgeist of why we, potentially why we're playing about it, just led to us talking about Elden Ring.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, you'll after you finish, running around with zombies and robot dinosaurs, you'll run around with the Eldritch horrors in this game.
Well, my final kind of point on this sort of zeitgeist conversation, like I've held off picking up Elden Ring. Absolutely, I don't have the time for it right now. But everything that you're saying, you're saying,
yet you have Dying Light and Horizon.
I haven't played Dying Light for fucking ages.
And you have a family.
Yes. It's one of those where I'm thinking, right, I enjoy Souls games. I really like Demon Souls. I really like Dark Souls, the first Dark Souls. I enjoyed Bloodborne. they'd be my top 3 Souls games kind of at the moment. That from everything that you're saying, I would enjoy Elden Ring. I'm like, yes, I absolutely would.
But as you say, like, there's no reason on earth, unless you think that you're going to die in the next 5 seconds, to get to it now. And
exactly. And I can live through both of you for for the moment, and I still get to have these, like, listening to other podcasts when they're talking about Elden Ring, having had these conversations with you. I'm like, I know what they're all talking about. Like, and having a knowledge of sort of Souls games and things a little bit as well. I'm like, yep, I can live vicariously through my friends who are playing this game, and listen to other people conversing about this. Like, I understand this. I know what this is, because I am still part of this conversation, having talked about it with you two on here. So it's...
If you have a memory like mine, and you get spoiled on something, you'll forget it like a week later. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm still going blind.
Yeah.
Just have a bad memory.
Yeah.
Drink more, forget more.
Should we finish there for this week and jump back into jump back in and just finalise and talk about the beers that we have drank? Aadil, I think you kicked us off with your beer. How did you enjoy it?
I really like it. The burnt notes faded a bit, and allowed the sort of the milk stout to come out a bit more, and the sweetness. The salted caramel, honestly, is mostly on the finish, which I kind of like, which is why I was kind of supping at it, because it's just like nice, robust milk stout with these almond, a little bit of almond sprinkled in, and then as that faded, you got that salted, you got that caramel, which was just a nice way of letting it finish alongside some of those burnt notes, but like it just sort of waves in near the end of the taste. Really, really enjoyable. Could easily have another right now.
Yeah, cool, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy, how about yours?
Yeah, what's it called again? It's just called Mixed Fermentation NEIPA. That's how bold it is. I don't even need to call it anything.
Yeah, no name. Done.
Yeah, I had a Flanders Red Ale and a beer from, I think it's Neville Brewing in Holland. They do saisons with, wild ingredients, and I was like, now it's gonna top these. And to be clear, this doesn't top them either, but it's like, yeah, it comes down close. Nice. It's just it's a really good take on the NEIPA style, just very fruit forward, very very fruity, very full, very nice silky body to it, and yeah, just knocks it out of the park. It's a really good beer. Good. I'm gonna look for more from them. Great can art too, the Kraken / Octopus.
Perfect. Good.
Scotland killing it.
Nice. I'm going to go the opposite way from the two of you, and say Roots to Remember is not a path I want to tread down again. It started off well, and it was giving me very light notes, a little bit of sort of light orange squash, a touch of kind of dankness, a touch of pininess, a very, very sweet sort of berry in there as well. But as it kind of as it sort of sat on my palate, and the more I kind of drank it, the more it started to feel a little bit sort of like sickly. And that the combination of those flavours was just a little bit too like soured sweetness almost. It's kind of trying to be a little bit earthy, it's trying to be a little bit kind of piney, it's still trying to maintain not a juice bomb level of sort of sweetness, but some kind of sweetness, but combined with this more like piney kind of note towards the sort of the second half. It hasn't quite worked. It's sort of it's kind of, well, if it is 330 ml, I'd have probably been fine with this, but it's just outstayed its welcome just a little too
that's too
much. It's strange from DEYA.
They're going more in that direction for me, to be honest. Like, their beers are just falling off. Like when I said Scotland are killing it, I'm thinking like Overtone and these guys. It's just like even Polly's that you had last episode. It's like they seem to be creeping up to the standards that I dare say used to have, still sometimes have. But yeah, I know it because I just don't automatically pick up every day I can. I see anyone when I go into the beer shop. I'm like, let me pick up an Overtone. What are they called? No. Otherworld. Overtone or an Otherworld brewing company. Too many O's.
Scotland beers.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just an anomaly and
hopefully. And
beers on this podcast and going about them. So
and we've talked about DEYA and their switch to kind of more earthy beers over the last year or so, roughly. And I think that's
maybe they've already had their DEYA.
Oh, what a wonderful note to finish on.
Sick burn.
If you, dear listener, want to talk to us about the beers that you've been drinking or the games that you've been playing, you can do so in lots of different ways. You can go to @TankTopCast on the social medias, hit us up on Twitter, and let us know whether you've been enjoying any DEYAs recently or any new breweries that you haven't had before. You can also go to outoflives.net to look at all of the things that we do, see our beautiful faces on the video version of this podcast, or just listen to the audio over there as well if you don't have us in your podcast service of choice, but you probably should. And whilst you're there, you can rate and review and do all of the things that the podcast service will let you do. Or go to Out of Lives Network on YouTube if you consume your media in that kind of way to see the beers that we've been drinking and see our faces. You can also stick around on Twitch. Aadil streams almost every Tuesday, a First Looks. In the previous episode, we talked about Ond or Onday or Onder, whatever.
Ond.
Sorry, French people. You can see that. That'll be up. That'll also be on the YouTube at some point. You can get me at Nova_47. Lucy is.
Juicy Loose 9.
And Aadil is.
At the Omniarch.
And to round us out for the week, do either of you have any parting words? Anything you'd like to push on people?
As Flavor Flav said it best, don't believe the hype.
Bye.
Just gonna get my massive clock and just walk away like this.
Ciao.
Just see you just like walking out the door with your just so heavy that it weighs you down. This hunchback just
www.outoflives.net